What up, traders? What up, investors? Ken here from the Dyslexic Investor, and we are looking at BA. We kind of looked at a couple other different tickers today because a lot of things are moving. Facebook's coming back, Beyond Meat's kind of selling off, but BA kind of won out, and that was the help from our Discord. And we have AA Ron or Double A Ron basically helping in Discord, kind of help me pick out this particular stock ticker, and then I kind of did my due diligence on looking at some of the sales and options that were trading around this ticker. Again, this is the potential getting the approval of flying the MAX 8 to be able to go airborne again. Again, that's going to be they're going to be able to make the MAX 8 planes again. I don't know who's going to buy them, but they're going to be able to make them. Of course, the ones that are currently in rotation, I think there's nearly 370 of those across this world, also known as Earth, that will be operational again. So that being said, that's great news. That's fantastic if you're in a BA position. Kind of do a quick recap, and then we're going to jump into the trade where a trader basically bought some deep in the money calls that are expiring on the monthly expiration on the 17th for about 1.2 million. Currently trading, it's up quite a bit to like 1.46 million. So a great little trade there for that individual as well. That being said, this thing again with the overall market of last week, we kind of had a pretty steep sell-off Thursday into Friday. We kind of talked about this on the live stream last night on it kind of holding the 34, and if things did go sour or the approval didn't happen or something just terrible happened to BA or something like that, again, that 50-day will kind of come in around 155. That being said, the RSI and volume oscillator have switched today. Again, being up nearly 10% in one day, it does a pretty significant amount, but we do have quite a far ways to go. We are slightly breaking this, I like to draw these little make-believe lines called these trend lines. This kind of broken this, kind of gapping above this, so this is kind of like, lack of a better words, not an ascending pattern, but like a trend a wedge pattern coming into form, and it broke out to the upside, which is a great sign. Again, if you're long, if you're short this, you're feeling a lot of pain today and probably want to call your mommy. Anywho, that being said, with the 5 and 8 never really kind of crossing through, especially the 8 never kind of crossed through the 21, was a really great sign, to be quite frank with you. This is a really indication of its strength here, kind of just not even touching the 34, but potentially the 34 coming in here to kind of give it some support going forth. That being said, where could we go from here? Again, that depending on what the close is today, we could be seeing for the bear case, we want to start seeing it print lower. If you're in that case, you want that 5 and 8 start crossing through the 21, and the ticks kind of get below the 21 and potentially get to the 34, even to the 50. For the bull case, we're in that right now with the 5 and 8 kind of bouncing off the 21. Ticks are pushing higher, got a long wick to the downside and trying to break above to try to get to this 220 level. I know that's quite a far ways off, but that needs to kind of break those parabolic SAR dots that are kind of pushing it down. Once it starts kind of getting some momentum and some slowly grinding higher, we could see those parabolic SAR dots kind of coming down, and once they kind of intersect, we could getting a nice little burst higher to potentially try to the previous high that this year, basically around 234, to potentially try to get to the 200-day exponential moving average, which I kind of want to move that down because that has fallen a little bit. So around 240-ish. Those are basically the cases here on the daily chart. So let's go ahead and turn to the trade here. So someone basically 6 minutes and 11 seconds into the opening of the markets, bought 498 calls, again at $23.90. Again, $2,390. $2,300, just call it $2,400. The delta is around 75, which is it's gone up due to the fact of just trading, and again the stock being up pretty substantial today. We did that duplicate order. We can do confirm and send. It was around 1.1, let's call it $1.2 million trade there. And if I slide over Tastyworks here, what I use for trading options, that call is trading substantially higher, around $30, 31, and that net profit is basically substantially higher, looking at, let's see, yeah, it just broke 1.5, so $1.5 million. So just that trader alone probably made $300,000 just in the last I don't know, 2-3 hours. With that being said, you can still see with the volume here is pretty high. Open interest is very high as well. Again, these are very deep in the money. So the stock's currently trading at 186 to 187-ish. Again, this is nearly, how many days is that? 18 days out for the July 17th call option to expire. Again, it's being deep in the money, which is an indication for a very short-term trade or kind of betting on potentially what could happen for the ongoing pursuit of the news coming out on just the overall. I'm not going to say people are just completely just going to hoping that BA comes back because of the news, but I think that's a huge indication, even though there's a lot of negativity around the airline companies and things like that. Even they are performing fairly well today. If you look at Love, they're kind of bounced back. We know we talked about that video that I did. Actually didn't get too many views on discussing that EU might be banning airlines or travelers coming from the United States. Kind of said that if it holds a 50-day, we can kind of buy a potential little amount of shares and see a bounce higher. That's exactly what happened there, so that's been playing out very well there. And then back to BA, really exciting to see what this happens. Again, to be fully understanding of what BA does, majority of their stuff, again, is within commercial airlines, but a lot of the other stuff is doing components and the various things for military and government contracts. So they're somewhat diversified, and so a lot of the down pulls, if whatever airlines is not going to be able to buy their planes or whatever, it's somewhat usually overdone and too much emotions driven by it, and that's kind of what you saw the last couple weeks here, just kind of losing focus on what it actually does and actually putting a real spin on it, on giving it a better branding, in lack of better words. That being said, moving forth, we can kind of look here on a weekly side of things. On the weekly side, we've had some trouble around the 195 level. This is the 21 exponential moving average on the weekly chart. Would love to see that to kind of break above that. We have some kind of stagnant momentum. We need that going higher. We have the TTM squeeze, no red indication for a potential propulsion of any kind, but the momentum is still to an upward trend. And on the weekly side, we are still above the 5 and 8 exponential moving average, which is a great sign as well for potentially just trading sideways. Again, waiting on that potential news to have them be able to make their future airlines and fill those orders. With the break of 21, the 21 here on the weekly would also be a great sign for potential higher prices. That being said, hopefully this was educational and informative for everyone. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We also have that Discord chat down below. Check that out. We have a Discord chat down below. Check that out. We have a Patreon page as well that helps support the channel directly, and I share some trade ideas and stocks through that. And then, of course, guys, take it easy, and I'll hopefully see you guys on the next live stream. This is Ken from the Dyslexic Investor, and I'll catch you guys.